Open controls. Gmail. Stop. Microphone. Off. Button. Phone. On.
Oi, gente. A gente vai jogar Sword Quest. Gente, eu tô no deserto. É um jogo.
3 of 6. Selected. Mute. Switch button.
Gente,
Clock.
peraí, deixa eu...
Swordy quest. Actions homepage. Swordy
Gente,
quests Leonardo. Level 36 is in desert with a never-worn throne. What next?
Sword
The
Quest
evil sand lord loves the
seria
heat provided by hot climates.
Busca das
Heading.
espadas. E quest seria busca. Busca. Ou é uma missão? Gente, então, bora fazer. Gente, olha só, vocês conseguem ter ideia da Lívia de um Léo? Não, é uma ideia, Lívia. Porque, tipo assim, eu não tava esperando que você tava pensando sobre isso. Tava achando, tipo assim. Sword Quest.
Trap. Gather. Hunt. Desert shrub.
Gente,
Choose
no
where to
deserto.
hunt. Desert shrub.
Gente, finalmente eu consegui chegar no deserto.
Leonardo sees a well-armored giant scorpion.
Eu devo
Level
esse
1.
monstro aqui, tá, gente? Ó.
Tap to sneak. Button. Tap to sneak. Battle. Head. You fail to sneak up on the giant. Fight giant scorpion. Button. Swing at giant. Middle. Swing at giant scorpion with health 147. Leonardo 6. Just dealt. Swing it. Go to inventory page. Select silver coins. Food sec. Collect. Select never. You won't. Eat 5 never fruit. Button.
Eu esqueci.
Can't consume anymore. Return to act. Battle. Go. Giant. You war. Metal warhammer. Tat bar. Swing at giant scorpion. Enemies. By enemies. Wake up. Wake up. Wake. Actions homepage. Travel.
Pera, a gente vai sair desse coisa da neve, tá?
Swarm. Manually trap. Set an auto travel. Leonardo. Dam. Closest snow field. Closest snow forest. Closest snow shrub. Closest ocean. Closest snow. Damerel shrub. Damerel. Closest mountain. Closest forest. Clearburn shrub. Closest lake. Closest grassland. Closest desert. 23.
Gente, tem que ver 23 squares.
Manually travel 5 squares. Auto travel closer to. Select. Act. Travel. Fishing. Travel. Actions homepage. Sleep. Fishing. Sleep. Sleep. Zero dream. Sleep.
Gente, mudei a voz.
Sleep. You are sleeping. Awake. Actions homepage. App switcher. Heading not. App switcher. Heading not. You. Heading not. Gmail. Heading not. Camp S. YouTube. App library. App switcher. Close swordy quest. YouTube. Amazon. Voice stream. Current action. Brain pop. Blindfold. Files. Maps. Files. Double. Voice stream reader. Easy. Blindfold. Page 1. Swordy quest.
Bora, gente.
Actions homepage. Unlock. Travel.
Se vocês quiserem me dar o responde, deixa nos comentários.
Map page. Manually travel to investigated square. VoiceOver's vertical navigation option can help with investigating squares. Button. Manually set an auto travel Leonardo's location is vertical 26, horizontal 38. Closest forest, 7. Closest desert 4. Closest desert, 7 squares south. Map. Auto travel closer to desert. Selecting allowed travel. Reach desert. Actions homepage. Travel. Hunt. Gather. Travel.
Viajar, né, gente? Vamos lá, galera. Gente, nós estamos no deserto aqui, ó. Ó, como vocês podem ver.
Unlocked 14 achievement
Nossa,
crystals.
gente, tem que fechar de novo.
App switcher. Close swordy. Gmap. YouTube. Swordy. Settings. Action. Unlock. Swordy. Travel.
E, gente, vocês não preparam com o próximo boss, o último boss, gente. Eu juro pra vocês.
Map
que o
page.
microfone ativado.
Set an auto travel. Leonardo's location. Closest desert. You are located here. Vertical 33, horizontal 38. Select to set as distant. Closest desert forest. Closest ocean. Closest desert mountain. Everwarn seaport. Closest desert shrine. Everwarn castle. 7 squares southeast. Everwarn home. 9 square. Everwarn university. 13 squares southwest. Vertical 34. Map page. Travel. Manually travel to auto travel closer to. Select. Reach the university. Actions homepage. Travel.
Gente, agora a gente tá em outro lugar.
Academia. Library. Hence. Leonardo's current level is 36. Your XP progress. Travel. Unlock. Academia. Can you guess the 4 hidden items below? Instructions. There is a row of 4 items. The combination. You have a choice of up to 6 items that could possibly be in each slot. The slots are numbered 1-4 going left to right. Tap on a slot and then choose one of the items to position there. When you have selected an item for each slot, you can submit your guess. You will then be told how many items you have guessed are in the combination, and if they are in the correct position. In easier realms, you will also be told the position of the correct items. Guess first item. Lake pearls. Water. Lake leather. Lake pearls. Guess second item. Button. Water. Lake pearls. Can you guess the 4 hidden? Lake pearls is Guess third item. Button. Water. Lake pearls. Leather. Water. Select item. Heading. Water. Can you guess the 4? Lake pearls is first item. Lake pearls is. Water is third. Guess fourth item. Water. Lake pearl. Leather. Can you guess? Lake pearl. Leather is. Submit your guess. Submit. Round 1 results. 2 correct items in correct positions 1, 3, 1 correct item in wrong position 4. Pearl was guess 1, image. Pearl was guessed. Water was guess. Hide. Tap bar. Hide was guess 4, image. Yes. Can you guess the 4 hidden items below? Actions homepage. Academia. Library. When selecting a fanfiction story below, there will be a voiceover delay before the story is read out.
Gente, vamos ver uma história comigo, vamos ver.
Emeralds and Obsidian 1. Emeralds and Obsidian 1. A story by Sarah. As I trekked the desert atop my boar, who I named Vernon, I found myself zoning out. I thought of how I'd gotten here in the first place. I remembered braving grasslands, frozen fields and the vast ocean before I was brave enough to enter the desert. Upon doing so and visiting the nearest farm, I was told I should trade for a desert boar rather than the horse I'd been riding up to that point. I was skeptical, as pigs weren't usually what one would think of as a mount. The old farmer had assuaged my doubts. These are much more hardy than any of the equines, he explained. They can go farther without needing a break. They hold up better against the heat, and they lid anything. None of the donkeys or horses like the cacti and aloe plants, but these boars don't mind. Feeling that I could trust his assurances, I made the purchase, and it turned out he was quite right. While the horses had needed to stop and rest fairly frequently, Vernon could plod along for quite a long time without getting winded. And just as the farmer had promised, he wasn't affected by the heat. In fact, I felt that I was feeling its effects more than him. The frozen orb I had created up in Damerol protected me from the worst of it, but I still felt very hot and needed to drink a lot of water. And there was nothing to be done about the harsh glare of the sun on the sand, which left me with a pounding headache. Using the rope halter I'd made, I gently turned Vernon's head northward. I wanted to revisit the grasslands and, more importantly, get somewhere cooler. "Let's go this way, boy," I said, my voice raspy with disuse and thirst. As Vernon obeyed my direction and began to head north, I decided to have a drink and a snack. Once I was full and sated, I offered Vernon one of my cactus fruits, which he munched happily. I ran my hand absent-mindedly over Vernon's course for and looked ahead, wondering when the green fields and forests would come into view. Suddenly, Vernon gave a grunt of alarm and stopped so suddenly that my body fell forward onto his neck. I quickly righted myself and looked round, wondering what had spooked him. Then I heard it. Thud, thud, thud. That sound could mean only one thing. We had strayed too near a dragon and it was swooping in to attack. With a resigned sigh, I slid from Vernon's back and drew my obsidian sword. This was the first dragon I'd encountered since I took the portal from Phonotasia to the Beyond. I knew that most if not all of the monsters were stronger here, and I shuddered to think what a dragon would be like. Even in Phonotasia, battling a dragon was a long, grueling task. As the beating of the dragon's wings grew louder, sending spikes of pain through my already throbbing head, I looked up. As I'd anticipated, the dragon was a good bit bigger than any of the Phonotasian ones. It was also green. This didn't surprise me, as the ones I'd seen before were all different colors, everything from blue to sunshine yellow. "Go hide," I cried to Vernon, taking my food bag off of his back before giving him a light slap to get him moving. Without hesitation, he trotted off and disappeared behind a nearby dune. I knew, when this was over, I could call his name and he would come back to me. The dragon landed in front of me, causing the ground to shake and sand to scatter in every direction. "At least you have better weapons and armor now," I thought, taking a few steadying breaths. Supposedly, obsidian was the best material for battle tools that could be found anywhere. I'd found it effective against lava monsters and sand snakes, but I wasn't sure how well it would work against this green giant crouching just in front of me, its tail whipping from side to side like a cat readying itself to pounce. Before the dragon could make the first move, I charged. To my surprise, I managed to land a hit and dodge its counterattack, but my luck didn't last long. The next hour or so felt like it had gone on for days and days. I knew I had little chance of escaping, so I chose to stand and fight. Like all the other monsters I'd fought before, the dragon wasn't about to leave until one of us was killed. I was determined not to let that be me. I needed to stop every so often to catch my breath and drink some water, but the dragon simply waited for me to finish. Why enemies didn't attack while I was taking a break I didn't understand, but I wasn't complaining. At last, the dragon was beginning to slow down and show definite signs of fatigue. I stepped back a ways then ran at it, swinging with all my might. My sword connected, but something unexpected happened. Rather than keeling over dead as all other dragons and monsters before it had done, it froze for a second then lowered its huge head so it was level with me. Confused and terrified, I jumped back, my sword sliding out of my sweaty hands. Then I heard a voice in my head. A voice that, despite its gentleness and obvious femininity, was still strong and intimidating. "You are a strong and worthy warrior, Andromeda," the voice said. It wasn't talking out loud, I heard it in my head. "Since you have bested me, I give you my allegiance. From now on, I will fly you wherever you need to go and fight by your side." I was in shock. I heard whispers that dragons in the Beyond would submit to an adventure if they were beaten in a fight, but I laughed it off as idle gossip. "Double what?" I gasped, feeling that the strain of the battle had caused me to go mad. The dragon lowered her head and gently nuzzled me. "We are friends now, you and me," she said slowly and clearly. Before I had time to react, I felt my legs give way. I hadn't realized just how tired I was until I collapsed. When I finally awoke, I found a green, cloth-like something stretched over me like a tent, shielding me from the harshness of the early morning sun. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, and looked around wildly. "Good morning, Andromeda," came the dragon's voice in my head. The events of yesterday came rushing back and I laughed, giddy with relief and excitement. "Did you mean it when you said I could ride on you?" I squealed as the dragon lifted her wing. She bowed her head, which I took as assent. I felt a small twinge of guilt. What about Vernon? He's been a good companion. I can't just leave him here. "You could sell him," suggested the dragon. "There's a village quite close to here." "Oh yes, Hillkeep Village," I remembered. Will you accompany us to the outskirts so I don't have to walk all the way back here? Another dip of the head. As I packed up all my belongings and summoned Vernon, I turned to the green dragon who was cleaning the sand from around her scales. You need a name, I declared. She looked up, her grass green eyes wide with surprise. A name, she echoed. Most of your kind don't give us names. They simply ride on us and treat us as tools, nothing more. I shook my head. I know, I grumbled. I'm not like most of my kind. Animals have feelings too. Even the horses and pigs. And clearly, you're more intelligent than they are, so of course I want to give you a name and talk to you. You're the one who said we are friends, no? She looked at me for a moment, then slowly replied, I said that simply to help you understand. I didn't expect you to take it to heart. Mind you, I'm not complaining. It's nice to be acknowledged as a fellow creature and not treated as an object. I looked hard at her for a few minutes. Her scales shone brightly in the sunlight, making her look like a heap of emeralds on the ground. Emerald, I cried. I'll call you Emerald. She hummed deep in her chest, and I could tell she was expressing her liking for the name. I smiled and scratched her head, causing her to hum even more loudly. I turned to see where Vernon was, and found him on his back, rolling back and forth and kicking his legs. He always had to do this before we set off for the day. I laughed watching him. Why do you always do that? I asked, getting nothing but a playful snort in reply. Come on. We need to go, I urged. Vernon rolled around and got to his hoofs, shaking himself to get the sand out of his coat. You're strange, I giggled, hoisting myself onto his back. I left my supplies, save for some food and water, with Emerald. I'll meet you at the edge of town, I told her as she took off, her massive wings snapping open. After Vernon and I had arrived at Hillkeep Village, I directed him to the market. With tears in my eyes, I asked if anyone would be interested in purchasing him. An elderly man with gray hair and beard and kind, brown eyes stepped forward. I can take him off your hands, he offered. Please give him a good home, I begged, barely holding myself together. He observed me with interest. You are not like most travelers, he told me. I know, I agreed. Most of them don't get attached to their mounts like this. You have a kind heart, young warrior, he smiled, putting a gnarled hand on my shoulder. Don't fret. I'll take good care of this handsome boar. Have you given him a name? Vernon, I answered, choking back a sob as the pig looked at me after hearing his name. Vernon is in good hands with me, the man assured me. I can give you a moment to say goodbye if you'd like. I nodded and he walked away so he was at a discreet distance. I flung my arms around Vernon's neck, my cheek pressed against his fur. Thank you for all your help, I whispered. To most people you're just a mount or a dumb animal, but you've been a good friend to me. Vernon grunted and licked my cheek. After pulling myself together, I beckoned to the old man. Did I ever introduce myself? He asked as he took the rope halter from my hands. I don't think so, I answered, wiping my eyes. I'm Arthur, he said, holding out his free hand which I shook. Andromeda, I replied. Well, young Andromeda, if you're ever in the area, feel free to come visit us. I smiled, collected my coins from Arthur and left. Once I'd reached the outskirts of town, I heard the beating of enormous wings and knew Emerald was coming to pick me up. Once she'd landed, I climbed onto her back, almost quivering with excitement. I can't believe I'm doing this, I squealed as her wings opened. Hold on tight, she advised, launching herself skyward. My shout of mingled fear and exhilaration was lost in the howling of the wind. I watched the ground quickly drop away until it resembled nothing but a three-dimensional map of the desert biome of the beyond. I pointed to the north, hoping Emerald would understand. She immediately began flying in that direction. I was amazed at how smoothly and quickly she could fly. I gave another scream of excitement that the wind snatched away. As we approached the edge of the desert, I asked Emerald to land. I wanted to collect some more cactus fruit and aloe gel before we ventured into the grasslands. As I was harvesting, I heard a noise behind me. I turned to see a long sand snake staring at me. Grabbing my sword, I quickly slew it before skinning it and stripping it of all of its meat. As I was cutting the meat, I drew aside a scrap and saw something out of the corner of my eye. I turned my head just in time to see Emerald snapping the piece of meat out of the air. Laughing, I tossed another piece in her direction. She grabbed it like a frog catching a fly. Giggling like a schoolgirl, I continued to throw meat in her direction, purposely varying the speed and height at which I threw, trying to see if she could catch it all. To my amazement, she only missed one. It flew over her head and landed on the back of her neck. She twisted hither and thither trying to reach it with her tongue, but she couldn't. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. At last, Emerald gave a huff of frustration and dropped onto her haunches. Would you mind getting this thing off of me? She complained. Still laughing, I plucked a piece of meat from her neck and held it in my open palm, from which she snapped it up. I climbed onto her back and looked ahead at the lush fields and lakes that were just north of us. I couldn't wait to see what other adventures we'd have together.